Hi, I'm Bob from pvcpipeproject.co.uk, and in this video we're going to have a little look at the range of fittings available and an overview of how we make basic shapes for our project. First of all, let's have a look at the fittings. There's a real nice range of fittings. We've got 3-ways and 4-way elbows for corners and along the straights. We've got 5-way elbows here. People sometimes say, what do you use a 5-way elbow for? But when you start drawing out a structure, all of a sudden you might find, oh, wouldn't it be handy if I had a little 5-way elbow in there? Well, there it is. So we have more standard fittings like T's and crosses, and we have 45s, 90-degree elbows, end caps, just to go over the end of the pipe. We've got something called a table cap here, which has got 3 holes drilled in it, which is designed to fix the pipe down onto either the ground, or it can go onto the wall or the ceiling, or to fix it onto maybe a disc if you're making a little table or something like that. And then we've got something called a slip T, which has a socket on one side and allows the pipe to slide through the middle of it. We'll have a little look at that one later and why that's quite a special fitting. The options we've got when we're assembling our pipe is we can either assemble it dry, so we can dry fit it, so there's no glue. This is the easiest way to fit it. The problem with it is it does allow for a bit of movement. What I'll do is I'll stick this on here. This has been dry fitted at the moment. There's no glue, there's no fixings going through, and as you can see, it's pushed right in. As you can see by how much this is moving on this side here, I can actually turn it quite a lot, and it can move, and everything can move around. And what you can find once you've made your structure, if you dry fit it and there's going to be any forces on it at all, your structure will move and it will distort. So dry fitting's fine for a real lightweight application where there's going to be very few stresses on it, but really if there's any pushing or pulling or anything going to be applied to it, we need to think about making that joint more permanent so it's not going to move around. Because you imagine we've got that joint moving, this joint, that joint, that joint, that joint. We've got joints everywhere which are moving, and in the end everything's going to start to get out of square, and it's not going to be either practical or look good either. So the options we've got is we can either glue our fittings together. Gluing the fittings is a permanent solution. Once you've glued it, you're not going to unglue it at all. Okay? We have a special video which goes into more detail on gluing, and if you click the I button on the video here, which is showing right now, that'll take you to that video and it'll show you more about how to glue and the process of gluing. If we're gluing, we really have to think about how we're assembling it, because as we glue, for every joint we're making a permanent joint every time we glue. So if we suddenly realise, oh no, I need to take that one off to be able to get this one in, we can't do that because we glued it. An option I really love is using these little white rivets. That's your rivet there. As you can see, it's a tiny little fitting, and the inside bit pops out, and as it pushes in, it expands the bottom of the rivet, and that flares it out, and that holds it into the pipe. So the way to use these is to drill a 3mm hole into your pipe, go through the fitting and through the pipe all the way through. Do it somewhere fairly discreet, maybe around the back of the fitting, and then push your first part down all the way in, and then we get our little pin which then pushes down into that and flares out, and that then gives us a joint which isn't going to move once it's in there. However, if we have mucked up, if we have made a mess whilst we're building it and we think, oh, what have I done? And you want to change it, these rivets, once you take the centre out, can be taken out again. You can move your pipe around, you can take it out, you can change a bit of pipe and re-drill it, and you can put it back in again. So it's a semi-permanent fixing, and that's what I love about them, is that not only does it allow us to make mistakes, because we all make mistakes when we're building stuff and suddenly wish we'd done something a bit differently, but it also allows us, if we get bored with what we've made in 6 months, a year, 2 years, maybe a week, it depends how fickle you are, you might want to take it all apart and make something else with the parts. Just one thing about dry fitting, when we are dry fitting, the pipe isn't really designed to be dry fit all the way to the end on the fittings. Sometimes it'll go right in, sometimes it won't go right in. There's a landing on the inside of the fittings, and I'll hold one here, so way down the socket there's a stop on the socket. You want to get your pipe pushed to that all the time. So it's often good when you're putting your fitting in, get a wooden mallet. Don't use a metal mallet, that's going to leave horrible metally or rusty marks and damage the look of your project. A wooden mallet or a plastic mallet, and just give it a chap in. Okay, the pipe's very, very strong. It's actually designed to take impact, so it's not going to break, and all it needs is a small chap, and that'll then get it in right to the end every time, and that'll also give you a much more solid fix on it. Right, remember I spoke about these little guys, which are our slip tees, so we're going to have a look what these do now. So if we're building a structure, let me just take this off. If we're building a structure, and we're often asked this by people, how do I make a roof, or how do I make an angle on the structure? Well, these are the fittings which we want to do it with. So we can slide the fittings on, and that gives us a T-joint which we can then set to any angle we want. So if we wanted a pipe which is coming off for a roof, we can set that there, and again our little rivets, drill it through. Once you've got the angle right, mark it up, drill it through, put a little rivet through, and that's going to sit there quite comfortably and give you the angle that you want. And you can set it to any angle you want on there. So that's how to make basic shapes and how to build with furniture grade PVC pipework. Thanks for watching. Bye.